Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a really highly structured, deeply ironic, true crime-style breakdown of Victor Canning's short story, A Question of Trust. Now, this isn't just your standard tale of a burglary gone wrong. Oh no, it's actually this fascinating exploration of honor, meticulous planning, and, well, the absolute art of deception. I am so excited to guide you through this, because the way this story unfolds is literally nothing short of brilliant. We're coming right out of the gate here with a psychological hook that kind of challenges the very foundation of criminal loyalty. Is there truly honor among thieves? Or is trust really just an incredibly expensive currency? I want you to keep that exact thought in the back of your mind as we unpack this masterful narrative, because the answer we find, it might just surprise you. All right, let's get into the first part, the perfect crime. We're going to dive straight into the meticulous planning behind this operation and take a really close look at both the target and the mastermind who's pulling all the strings. So our story takes us to this affluent, totally isolated country mansion known as Shotover Grange, situated way out, far from the bustle of London. And listen, this wasn't just some crime of opportunity. It was a highly targeted strike. The house was studied relentlessly for 2 solid weeks, and I mean, they noted absolutely everything. The exact electrical wiring, the specific paths weaving through the beautiful gardens, the location of the safe, which, by the way, was hidden behind a rather poorly painted picture, and even the highly specific daily routines of the servants. It was essentially a masterclass in surveillance. But who exactly is pulling these strings? Well, meet Horace Danby. He lives this brilliantly crafted double life. To high society, he's a courteous 50-year-old locksmith. He's widely respected, seen as a good, honest citizen. But just beneath that peaceful facade lies a masterful safecracker. And what's wild is his motive isn't just basic greed. He actually steals to fund a highly expensive, almost artistic obsession with collecting rare and exquisite books. So, in theory, Horace represents the absolute peak of logical criminal calculation. He leaves absolutely nothing to luck. His preparations are frankly flawless. He spends weeks analyzing structural weaknesses. He even uses customized behavioral psychology to bypass the estate's guard dog, a dog named Sherry, simply by affectionately calling it by its true name to calm its anxiety. On top of that, he diligently wears gloves to ensure zero direct fingerprint evidence is ever left behind. And crucially, he limits himself to just 1 single theft a year. Why? To avoid establishing any sort of police tracking pattern. By all accounts, this guy's plan is foolproof. But, as we all know, in every great heist explainer, there is always a wild card, which brings us to our unexpected twist. A rival appears and throws this supposedly perfect plan into absolute chaos. Now consider this quote: "Deceptive appearances can blind even the most calculated minds. Trust is an expensive currency. When given blindly out of fear, greed, or vanity, it paves the path to one's own downfall." That powerful moral inference acts as a bit of a cinematic pause for us right now. It is the perfect setup before we reveal exactly how our overly confident master thief was completely, and I mean thoroughly, outsmarted. Enter the lady in red. While Horace is right in the middle of his heist, he is caught red-handed by a charming, elegant lady dressed in brilliant red, and she acts exactly like she is the homeowner's wife. She's incredibly smart, completely confident, and she just flawlessly exploits high society norms. She talks calmly to the dog, she demands help from Horace with absolute, unwavering authority, and in doing so, she instantly seizes total control of the room. Which brings us to a classic idiom that perfectly describes Horace's situation right here: to fall hook, line, and sinker. Meaning, to be completely, easily, and utterly fooled by a trick. Convinced by her elite authoritative act as the lady of the house, Horace falls for it entirely. He doesn't question her identity for even a second, mostly because she so perfectly fits the mold of the wealthy mistress he expected to find living there. So let's move into the anatomy of this betrayal and really deconstruct the psychology of exactly why Horace ended up doing all the dirty work for a rival crook. To understand this, we have to talk about honor among thieves. It's this age-old proverb, right? A code of conduct among criminals suggesting a standard of mutual respect. Basically, the idea that they won't betray each other. Now, Horace deeply adheres to this romanticized code of nonviolence and mutual respect. But the lady in red, yeah, she feels no solidarity whatsoever. She happily shatters this illusion, completely violates that expected standard, and just leaves poor Horace to take the legal fall while she casually escapes with all the jewels. This brilliantly illustrates the core literary theme of appearance versus reality. Think about it for a second. Appearances in this story are highly deceptive. Horace appears to be an honest businessman, but is actually a thief. The lady appears to be this respectable elite mistress of the home, but is actually a highly ruthless masterclass crook. It proves without a shadow of a doubt that the absolute most elegant facades can hide the most ruthless intent. Now, moving on to planning versus reality, let's look at how natural human flaws ultimately cause the breakdown of Horace's foolproof strategy. Because, as you'll see, a plan is really only as good as its execution under pressure. We really need to contrast Horace's meticulous, logical planning with the unpredictable, uncontrollable reality of human nature. On one hand, we've got his flawless theory, the schedules, the gloves, the careful timing. But on the other side, we have the biological and psychological human factors that actually took him down. At the end of the day, you simply cannot plan for everything. Let's start with the biological flaw. So, inside the drawing room of Shotover Grange, there was a simple bowl of vibrant sweet pea flowers. Now, as it turns out, Horace suffers from hay fever, an allergy caused by pollen that leads to severe sneezing. Those sweet peas trigger a massive sneezing fit, creating a critical physical vulnerability that literally breaks his quiet, stealthy cover. It's just a tiny, completely uncontrollable biological reaction, but it starts the domino effect of his entire ruin. And then comes the psychological flaw. Paralyzed by the intense fear of arrest when he's confronted by the lady in red, Horace desperately tries to please her to save himself. Overwhelmed by panic and that false sense of relief that she just might let him go, he lets his guard down, meaning he becomes way less cautious and invites vulnerability. He actually removes his gloves to hand her a lighter. In that single, split-second moment of lost focus, he drops his guard completely and leaves his bare fingerprints all over the safe that he happily opens for her. And sure enough, 3 days later, those exact fingerprints get him arrested. Which brings us to our final section, lessons in deception. The crucial point here is understanding what we can actually learn from this 20th century heist gone wrong. Yes, it's an incredibly entertaining story, but it is packed with real-world applications. Beyond the charming irony of the narrative, there are some really sharp takeaways here. First off, ethical integrity is absolute. A crime is still a crime. Horace tries to build this sophisticated, high-art excuse that he's only stealing for beautiful books, but ultimately those logical shortcuts collapse. Second, we see perfectly how fear totally disables critical thinking. Panicking over the threat of police action completely prevented Horace from noticing the basic, glaring contradictions in the lady's behavior. And here's why this matters for you today. This isn't just some old story about a safecracker. It's practically a textbook example of what cybersecurity experts now call social engineering. Today, modern digital hackers use the exact same tactics as the lady in red. Through email phishing or phone scams, they win your absolute trust by mimicking authority figures to exploit vulnerable targets. They rely heavily on you letting your guard down out of fear, or maybe just a desire to be helpful, just like Horace did. So we'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder regarding Horace Danby. He really believed his actions were justified because he wasn't stealing for typical greed, but rather to fund a refined intellectual love of literature. But as we've seen, deception breeds deception. So do the ends truly justify the means? Or does compromising your ethics ultimately pave the path to your own downfall? Definitely think about that the next time you're asked to blindly trust a seemingly perfect facade. Thank you so much for joining me on this explain.